Assuming that you are starting to think about a roof for your studio project, I'd like to look at several ways to build a roof besides using the default settings for a roof by footprint. We'll look at flat roofs, roofs sloping in a single direction, curved roofs, and curved sloping roofs. Let's do the flat one first. We'll just use this basic one. Any one or all of these sides can be a horizontal eave from which the roof slopes up, or it could slope down if you had a V-shaped roof. But what I want to do here, well, let's just say okay. And we'll look at that in 3D. And by default, that roof slopes up evenly from all four sides at the same pitch. If we select it and edit footprint, we can select all those and say, don't define a roof slope with them. Then to give it a slope, let's say from this corner going up to this corner, I'll go to edit footprint and add a slope arrow. And that's just an arrow that says, this is the direction of the slope. So I'm going to say slope arrow, pick a point there, just to make the low one and the high one. And as you can see, this is the tail of the arrow as we'll be referring to it. And this will be the head. And so once we've drawn that arrow, we can do a couple of things. We can specify the height at the tail and then how much higher the head is, or we can specify the slope of the thing and then move the whole thing up and down at the same time. I'll just start with a height at tail. Let's stretch this all the way out so we can see what's going on. Let's say we're going to go this from level. This bottom one will start at level 2 and not be any bit above that, wherever level 2 is. The level at the head will also be at level 2, and let's say we'll come up 8 feet from there. So we're going from level 2 up to positive level 2, positive 8 feet from level 2. So that swings around, and we've got a roof that slopes up from this bottom corner up to the top corner. I'll go back into a site plan view. And put my walls in there of whatever kind they happen to be. You can see they're sticking up through there, and we can select them all and just tell them to attach to the roof, hover, tab, click, and attach their top or base to this. And then they just all go up to that. There's a book written by two architects, Robert Venturi and Denise Scott Brown, called Learning from Las Vegas. And they decided Las Vegas is garish and crazy, but boy, you sure notice the buildings there. Driving down the street, everyone is an individual, sort of iconic. Even the sub shops, have some amazing shape to them, and all geared towards the automobile driving fast down the street and what catches your mind, what catches your eye as you go by. And that's sort of the situation that you're going to be in for you want people in cars to be very aware of this. It's not just tucked down an alley somewhere. It's going to be like right there, really obvious. And how do you capitalize upon your location to bring people in, bring people back, help people know where they're going. So it's enough for architecture. Now let's do an arched roof. This method would work for a ceiling as well. I'm going to get into, at this point, I'm going to get into like my front view here. And we see that one's sloping up. I want to draw a roof here that's going to be an arc that just goes straight back, and we can put some walls underneath that as well. Roof. And up to now, we've been drawing by footprint in plan. And now I'll be drawing a roof by extrusion, which is to say I'm going to draw a profile in elevation and then just extrude that back horizontally. And you can see just how this works right here. With roofs, you only draw the top surface of it, and then Revit, whatever roof type is being created, Revit thickens that by the 9 inches or 12 inches or whatever. So roof by extrusion. And when we're drawing in an elevation like this, at some point, I've got to tell Revit, I need to be, as I'm drawing, I'm not just drawing in space, I'm drawing on a plane, either on a wall or anything I can find here. And at this point, I'm going to start drawing on this plane, the plane defined by this edge of the building. I'm going to just pick a plane and drag here until it highlights. And now I'll be drawing right in that flat plane. We'll leave those all like that and hope for the best. And now for my extrusion, I'm just going to draw a simple arc. There's that. And that's all I have to do, because Revit's going to go from that arc down with whatever the thickness of the wall is. Finish editing that. And now I basically say, relative to this plane, where do I want those two to start and stop? But I'm just going to leave it the way it is right here and just go into the site plan where I can drag that roof to be however long I want. And I'll make it just as long as this one over here, whatever that is. So now we've got an arched roof, and that could be any sort of shape you want. It could be a wave, could be anything. It's also, you might want to use that for a gambrel roof, which in elevation is the kind that goes up steeply, goes up at a shallower angle, then comes down more steeply. You know, to create this out of 4 different roof pieces that have to mesh would be difficult, but to do it as a roof by extrusion, there's just one line, and then Revit fills in with this is a lot easier way to do that. And these are true roofs. They've got the asphalt on them, they've got the insulation, they've got the plywood, whatever. The last one I want to do is where that arched roof or any shape, instead of being horizontal, straight back, tips up from one end to the other. I can go back to my front view again, but I can't, as it turns out. Let's go back to site. I can't just pick this curved roof and add slopes to it. Only roofs made by footprint have the option to turn the slope arrows on. I can't like assign a slope arrow to this and have it all slope up like that. What we need to do here is go back into my front view. And if you remember when we drew the tapered leg of the coffee table, started out circular, got bigger and turned into a square by the time it got to the top. And that's a blend from one shape to another. I'm going to be doing a blend from one curved shape we're seeing in plan this way, the bottom of it, to another curved shape in plan that's up higher. So then Revit will extend it up. We'll just show you how this works. See if I get it right this time. So I can't actually use a roof tool here. None of the automatic roof tools are going to work. I actually have to create this as a component in place, a component model in place of the roof type, of the roof category. Component model in place, roofs, okay, and we'll call this curved, sloped roof. Okay, so this is not an extrusion, which would just go straight. It's a blend. It's going to transition from one shape to another. They're going to be the same, actually the same profile, but they won't be in line with each other. They'll want to be raised above the other. Blend. So I'm going to sort of start with this. Oh, I got a little more effort involved here. Now I need explicitly to set my work plane to this plane of this wall. Set work plane, pick a plane to there. So now I'm drawing over here in the same plane as that wall. I'll just do another arc. Just maybe make a little something a little different. And this I actually have to give the thickness to. This is just like this is another solid that we're modeling in place, knowing that it's going to be a roof. Offset, we'll just say 9 inches. And I got to close the edges, so we get a continuous boundary here. We can extrude. So that's the bottom, conceptually the bottom. We just start there. Then we go up and say edit top. And I want to use these same shapes, so I think I can just pick these guys. Pick those. Select them by window. Copy. There we go. I'm just going to copy them straight up. Like that. So this will be the near edge, the near eave, and this will be the far eave. And then I need to tell them how far apart they are in plan. And we'll say that the first end from the plane that we drew is 0. It'll be right in the plane of, so this edge will be right in the plane of this wall. And then the second end, I'm going to say 30 feet. And I honestly don't know if that's coming towards me or going back. We'll just say 30 and see what we get. And we've got those both drawn. I'll say, okay, more than one loop not allowed, continue. Oh, okay, I see. Okay, so I had like two copies of that first one. I should have just moved that up instead of copying it up. Okay, so there's that. And let's see what this looks like. Okay, pretty close. I should have said it goes from 0 to 30. I should have said 0 to minus 30, just since we're doing that right. So I can just change this to minus 30. And there that goes. So we have a sloped, curved roof. If you think that will attract people to your coffee shop or whatever you're doing. And again, we can put this. This is a smart enough roof that we can put the walls in there. Go into 3D. Hover, tab, click, attach top base, attached to this guy. So the low wall is attached to the low curved roof and the high wall is attached to the high curved roof. So I hope that's of use.
So you can make your mark on St. Matthew's.
That's enough of that.
Now let's look at sweeps, which we didn't get to last class. I'll put in some wall cabinets so we can model a cornice above them.
Place component, load family. I can put in a corner wall cabinet. I can use the space bar to rotate that around. And then, for getting these to line up best, usually they'll lock against one wall, but not necessarily against the other one here at the corner. If you can select it and use move, select this point.
And then it drops right into place.
I'm going to place just one on either side of this. Upper cabinet wall, upper cabinet, single door with glass. Again, these only go on walls, so I can't just place it out here on the floor, as you have already no doubt figured out. MO. And then I'm going to put the same one down here. And instead of going back and getting it again, I can select this and type CS for create similar, which is a really handy tool. And that will put me in line to do that. Get to my 3D view and start looking at these in okay, so here we are. Something weird with the mouse here. It keeps jumping back to weird spaces. So I want to run a cornice, let's say from here to here to here to here to here and back there, some little trim piece.
I blew this in the demonstration in class, so have redone it here correctly. Since this will be a one-of-a-kind component, we'll model it in place. And it will be a sweep since it's a single shape that follows a path. Here's where I went wrong in class. I should have used pick path instead of sketch path, picking 3D edges. Finish the path. And then go on to draw the profile, the shape that will be swept along the path. Finish that up, and click Finish again to complete the whole object. Sometimes you get this, you get the cabinets are different heights as they come out of the Revit library. And let's say that you wanted this one here in the back corner to be the same depth as these guys, and these are right. We'll go in and see how big those are. We just go into Edit Type and see that those are 2 foot 6 inches high. We can pick this guy, Edit Type, and make it 2 foot 6 inches high. And then I think move it back down 6 inches to 4 foot 6, which is the standard height. Let's look at another very useful way to use sweeps. I'm just going to round the edges off a cube. Architecture, component, model in place. I'm going to make this a piece of furniture. I'm going to make a little ottoman. And I think this is a technique that will be really useful to a lot of you in your assignment number 7. So I'm going to create just a square extrusion. Let's say some size like that, and going to make it 18 inches high. And what I want to do with this is to round off the edges, the top edges, with, let's say, a 3-inch radius. So here I'm going to make a negative sweep around there. So pick this. Whenever you're modifying the geometry of something, you need to take it back to the environment where it was created. So if we did a model in place, then we need to edit in place. And so we've got that. And what I want to do here is create a void sweep. We're just going to scoop off the top edge there. And I'm going to pick my path first, all the way around the top. Let me set my work plane here. Let me just see if this works. Pick up place. Okay, here's what I wanted. I should have set my work plane here, and that way it'll draw it there, here on this top plane. So that's the path I'm going to round things off along. Now I think I'll set my line display to thin. So when I've finished the path, I do the green check mark. And now I do the profile, which is going to be here's my box in elevation. I'm going to do a shape that's like this, two lines and an arc, and that will get subtracted from them all the way around. So I'm going to say edit profile. We can pick them again from a group, but I'm just going to edit profile. I'm going to come in here and draw a line over 3 inches that way. And then another line 3 inches that way. And then an arc that goes, let's say, from here to here and kicks in like that. So that sort of arrow-shaped thing will get subtracted from that all the way around. I'll say okay for the profile. Okay for the whole thing.
And there's that. So let's shade it. We can see we have this. Well, that's nice. That's nice, except it's rare to have these hard edges on something or other. This is this edge coming up and in. What I would really like to do, I think, ahead of time would have been to have rounded all these corners off, these vertical corners, so I'll have a smooth loop going all the way around it. So I'll do another one next to this instead of going and editing this one. So first I'll make another solid architecture component, model in place, furniture, ottoman 2. Again, I'll do an extrusion. But before I extrude it, I'm gonna round off these edges with the fillet arc tool. And I will give it a radius of 3, just so we remember what these numbers are. It's 3 inches. So there's that. And I'll make this again. It's remembering our 1 foot 6 inch elevation extrusion. I'll say okay. So there's that. That looks, it's a good starting point for this. And then I want to round off those top edges. Probably on a real ottoman, you'd have a big radius on the top and a little radius on the bottom, but we'll ignore that for now. So this guy, I want to edit in place. And I want to this, I want to, subtract the solid or add a void, however you want to do, create void sweep. I'm going to sketch the path around this top edge, set the work plane to this top edge, so that's where my lines get drawn. Pick these lines, including the corner lines, the corner arcs. So that's all the way around. Okay for that much. Now I draw the profile, which will be cutting into this shape. And I found this the easiest way to do it. I'm using just the same radius. Come down 3 and 3. And then draw an arc. This is the start point, end point, and then you pick a radius. I want that one. Okay. Okay. Can't create sweep. Can't create sweep. Cancel. It probably has something to do with a sweep of one size going around a sweep on the other side. I think if I make this a little bit smaller, I'll be able to do it. So sketch path. I'm sorry. That's okay. Edit profile. Make this Control C. Let me make this a little smaller. See if that'll work. There you go. Yeah, the second, it seems like the second fillet, the fillet needs to be, this radius seems to be smaller than that radius. Just the way the geometry works out, I don't know. But this will start working for easy chairs. And as you start to dealing with your Revit families, we're looking for an approximation of a shape that's good enough for architectural drawings. We're not really looking for perfectly modeled stuff that you could, put in an animated film. That's just not what the purpose of an architectural drawing set is. So bear that in mind. And I expect to see smart, selective reduction of detail. So we still convey the essence of some object, but we're not, for instance, on this one, a lot of times ottomans have those little tufts that come down to buttons that sort of hold everything together. I'm not going to put that in here. Just no point. There are other programs that model furniture and everything in far more detail, and they're fine for illustration purposes. They really don't have any place in a construction document set, just because if all your individual pieces of furniture take up as much space on disk as the whole building does, everything gets weighed down and slowed down. So be thinking about strategic, selective simplification. What are the key shapes here? What do I need to be conveying so people recognize what that is, but not get soaked up in the detail? We don't need to put all the buttons on a remote, for instance. Certainly not all the lettering on all the buttons on a remote for this project. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for now. Bearing this tool and the other tools in mind, the other solids tools in mind, let's take a look at the photographs that have come for assignment 7 so far and sort of brainstorm between us how we might create some of these objects. So you have the whole class. If you sent some in, you have the whole class thinking how to do it. Okay, finally we got somebody's lamp here. Let's start at the bottom. And it looks like this is well, give it to me in elevation, pure elevation. So I think it's a flat at the bottom and rounded at the top. And then we go up a ways with a skinny thing. And then there's this sort of a triangle-y transition piece, and then the glass. As we start thinking about this, so what of our tools, architecture, component, model in place, let's call this lighting equipment, as long as we're at it, lighting fixture. Which of these tools are going to be useful to us in making the shapes here? What are our options? We got extrusions. You can certainly see this becoming an extrusion all the way straight up. How about the base, rounded all the way around? I would say revolve for that. Let's just write revolve next to each one. And you could say extrusion for the top one. How else could the cylinder be modeled? What I'm working towards is what's the easiest darn way to make this fixture? And what I realize is, we can also do the stem as a revolve, just like the bottom and top pieces. If we didn't want to deal with this material change at the top, we could do this whole thing as a revolve like this. And here's the, that center line. And I think keeping track of all the pieces and especially editing it later on would be way simpler than a piece and a piece and a piece and a piece. And let's make this as easy on ourselves as we possibly can. Whose is this? How tall is this? Why don't we say it's probably above eye height. Let's say it's 6 feet 6. So if we're making this as a family, let's do this right. Instead of making it here and as a model in place, because this, once you've made it, you want to be able to use it over and over again in multiple places. Let's go to File, New, File, New, Family. We'll make this in the own little family editor. Lighting fixture. Just lighting fixture, like one we can just place anywhere. Table lamp, floor lamp, like that. Okay. This type of family starts off in a plan view, which is not the place where we're going to draw this. I mean, we want to draw that profile in an elevation view. So when we swing it around, it's just sitting right there, standing up off the floor. So I got to turn my project browser back on. View, user interface, project browser. I'm going to go, let's say, to my left elevation, looking at here this way. So that's my left elevation. And you can see we actually are making a light fixture. Here is the light source right there. And we can move that up and down to accommodate our fixture. And I'm just going to say that this whole rectangle, I'm going to start with the rectangle and refine it. Let's say that this rectangle is that we're going to do all our drawing in is like 6'6" by 6 inches for the half of the fixture that we're going to describe with a profile. So to start with, I'm going to create a revolve. And I'm just going to rough out that 6'6" by 6 just to get my bearings of where this is all going to be. And some of these lines we might keep, some of them we might get rid of. So I think what I'll do is trace the outside of this. And let's say that that's a foot. Let's make this 8 inches and this 4 inches. So I'll just come up here and I think I'll offset 8 inches, that guy. So that'll be like the bottom of the glass. And then offset that 4 inches. So I'm just going to sort of start to approximate the shape and not even give it any thickness yet. Maybe this comes down to here, and then the next one comes down like that, and the next one comes down like that. Something like that. Get rid of some things we don't need anymore. And then I'm just going to assume that the bar there is 1 inch in diameter, so I'll offset this 1/2 inch. Trim these two. And here I'll just run an arc from here to here and see where I get. And then use trim to sort of clean that up a little bit. And then up at the top, I need to make like this much of it, that thickness, so we'll be able to see it. I'll just call that 1/2 inch again. Then I'm going to draw this final line right down the middle to end up with a completely bounded area that doesn't have any gaps or any overlaps or any like little loops or anything in it. And then once your profile is done, you hit the green arrow. Oh, I gotta say, now I have to tell it what my okay, so that was a boundary line. Now I need to tell it what line I'm revolving it around. It doesn't know that I want to use this one, but I'll pick it and say I do want to use from here to here as my center of revolution. And then okay. Okay, then we'll deal with that in a minute. That's not too shabby. Let's shade it and see what it really looks like. And since we made this, we said it's a light fixture. The light is there already. If we go back to our this view, the light is attached to this reference plane. I think we can just move that reference plane up, and put the light source there. So this actually will shine up onto the walls and the ceiling. And light fixtures by default are invisible. I mean, we don't see the bulb itself. We don't see the source back in the model. That looks good to me. So the first thing to do is to save it for sure. I'm going to do that before I start messing around with taking it back into our model. File, save. Let's see. File, save.
And I'm going to go stick this in my my Revit Families folder under lighting fixtures. Their lighting, architectural for sure, interior. We're kind of, whose light was this? Here's Katie. Let's call it Katie's floor lamp. Katie's torchiere. That's what it actually is. Torchiere. Katie's torchiere. Save. And then once it's good and saved, we know that's going, then we can load it into the project, and we can probably just close it out as well. We don't need to come back to it for a while. And put it here in the kitchen. Okay, I'm going to try to look for something pretty different here. Well, as long as we're doing all the Katie's, let's do somebody else's so we don't give her too much of a unfair advantage. This is kind of the same, so I need to do that, and then this is almost like two revolves, one that's this way and one's this way that we then line up in space. What I wanted to get to, because it has a good void, is that's a better cat climber than mine. Whose is this? That's great. Go for it. Yeah, this chair I thought was really interesting. You know, that's an interesting view. If we ignore the rounding over of stuff, but make it kind of chunky. So if you start thinking of what gets subtracted as a really key part of this, I think we can make the whole shape be a blend from a smaller footprint on the bottom to a larger footprint at the top, which would give you a side elevation view like this. And then we could put a void in there all the way across. Just subtract that whole horizontal slot, and it can stick out way past. I mean, it doesn't matter. And then another void, we start out looking like this and subtract that. So it's just three things. Let's do this, see how it works. It's few enough pieces that I think we can all stay on top. Okay, let's go to File, New, Family. Definitely furniture. Okay. That's what we're starting with, is just I'm going to get rid of these other guys here. We're done with all those other views of. So we will create the initial blend in plan view. We draw the bottom, what Revit calls the base, first. So this is the bottom. And then the top, since it's going straight up, would be, let's just say like that. So this will slope out, this will slope out, this will slope out, and this will come straight up. And I'm going to say that this is 24 inches across. And those are each 6 when we get to that point. So I'm going to do a blend. And I'm going to do the front of it facing, the flat part facing down. A blend where I'm drawing the bottom first. So I then go there and say edit top. So let me get my tools out here. I'm going to draw this across like that. And then maybe I'll just make this a half circle, just for the ease of figuring it out. That's probably not deep enough, but it's not deep enough. Okay, I'll be like that or something. So that's my bottom. 2 feet across the front. Having done that, I'm going to go to edit top. And I'm going to start out here. This won't be perfect, but it'll be what we've got. And then so I've got my bottom here, I've got my top here. And then I want to say it's, well, if the seats are as a rule about 18 inches high, let's just make this 3 feet high. So it starts at 0 and ends at 3 feet. Okay, so that's that first thing. Okay, so even here in the families, you need to have all your browser and your properties open so you can do that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's look at this in 3D. There's the beginning of it. Okay. Here's the front. Here's the back. We're going to cut out the back. So I want to look this way at it, sort of to match what we're seeing here. I want to go over to the left-hand view. Here's the front. Here's the back. And I'm going to come up about halfway and create a void that comes about like this. Create void extrusion. Oh, I got to pick a plane to draw on. Here's where we get to the idea of having to define a work plane to draw on. Right now, there's just a bunch of curved stuff, and there's no plane that I can draw on here that I can just pick. The way I can pick the wall of the house and the other one. So here in the family editor, if you remember from the handout a while back, in the family editor, as you're facing the front of an object, there is a center front back plane that we can draw on by picking it from a list, and there's a center left right plane that we can pick on by drawing it from a list. They're just like invisible planes in space. Handy, huh? But so now we need to say I need to set my work plane, because we're working in the left hand view. We're going to pick the center left right plane, which will sort of be going this way through the chair. Center left right plane. Okay, and we can see that highlights, and that's something that we can draw on. Okay, so with that as my current plane, I'm going to create this extrusion somewhere like there. And we'll stretch it around later on and say, okay. So because we're in the family editor, it knows basically extrusion subtract from whatever they can. So now we have a hole like that through here. And all I need to do is select it and drag it out so it goes all the way outside of the object. Now we have our cut through there. I got a little close to the front. There's that. And I don't know exactly how high this is. I'm sort of eyeballing things right now. Now I want to just scoop out the place where the person sits, which will go from the top all the way down to the bottom of that thing, but come out the front. Go back to my reference level. So that's going to be create a void. We'll do extrusion. We'll just make it straight up instead of slanted. I'm going to start with a circle. Let's see what that gives me. That's about right. That's about right. Let's do a hidden shaded view of that. Yeah, so to make this, as good as possible, this second extrusion would have been tapered as well. It would be not extrusion, but a blend that would also sort of pick up that angle. But we don't want to do all of Connor's work for him here, so we'll just sort of leave this like this. This is where the analytical part of this comes in, of looking at objects, figuring out how we can approximate their volumes with the additive and subtractive tools that we've got. In this case, obviously, there's a lot of simplification, but this isn't too bad for 5 minutes messing around. Well, yeah, it's pretty terrible, actually. We'll let Connor work out the details, but that's the basic idea. And the nice thing is, as you're working with these, since all of these shapes are fairly malleable in terms of length, breadth, and height, and to some extent angle, we can tweak them without having to recreate them entirely. So I'm going to File, Save. I'll go back up to Furniture, Seating, Gordon's chair, whatever. Close that down. Oh, we could have placed it too. Okay. So if I want to go get that, just like any Revit object, I go to Component, Load Family. I don't have Documents, My Revit Families, Furniture, Seating, Gordon's chair. Let me rename that right now while I'm at it. Connor's chair. Okay, so we'll open that and place that here on the in our floor. For a fireplace where you've got like a firebox that kicks back into the wall, if here's the wall in elevation and fireplace is going to be here and there's a firebox, I would edit the profile of the wall to be like that. There's actually a hole in the wall that the firebox can go back through, so we don't have wall coming down just as soon as you get past the brick. Okay, let's take a break and come back and see what AI has to offer us. CAD programs are kind of magic, but I have some sense of how they work and what their fundamental assumptions are. I really have no idea how the image generating programs work that we're about to start looking at. I know there's a process called image diffusion that somehow starts with like some random pixels and then based upon what you're asking for, starts to fill them in based on a bunch of other images that might have some of those same words in them, and it gradually puts together something image-like that's never existed before. As a result, I have a very limited understanding of how to control these yet. Who's on LinkedIn? There's a group there called Parametric Architecture that is full of images and links to workshops and that kind of stuff. And that's sort of where I'm finding a lot of my information. And it's a rapidly changing field. A year ago, there was a program called Midjourney that we looked at the very beginning of the semester with monsters attacking Cincinnati or whatever. But Midjourney is very difficult to navigate. Just the process of getting there, getting to use Midjourney is a multi-step, multi-application thing. Just when I found a link to 2 or 3 days ago called Prome AI, Prome. That's just a web interface, and you type stuff in and you get pictures out, and it's free. So that's one I would like to start with, just as we look at it. They mostly work the same. There's similar ways of operating. Some lean more towards photorealism, others more towards illustration. You can sort of dial in the levels of detail and of image size that you want, sometimes paying extra for that. Multi-million pixel image will actually cost you money to put together, whereas small ones don't. But let's just take whatever browser we've got and go to Prome, Prome, AI.com. And logging in and signing up is free. Or we can just get started for free. Let's see what that involves. So there's no weird stuff to do. You just say upload image or drag it here. I uploaded this one just now to week 13 course content called Perspective Capture, which you could try. Actually, if we all use that to start with, we might get the same place. So I'm just going to drag that up here. And it's sort of one of the little quick ones we did from Cherokee's, attic. And then we got a bunch of options that keep jumping out at us. Let's say we're doing interior design. These, I think, are like photographic effects, common. Well, I'm just going to do that and just hit render and just see what I get, hit generate. And right now there are a bunch of people using it and we're not paying for this. It's recognizing where windows are and stuff. I mean, there's something going on here. Render mode, we got some options. Soft concept. Space. Let me do this one called space.
And the way this works is you get 200 generates a month. I believe this is 2. For $1 a day, $30 a month, you get unlimited images this size and some number of bigger ones. If we want to direct how Chrome generates an image from our sketch, we can add that here with the TA button. Oh, so if that's my picture, I see. So how about okay, so this time I added text to this ornate library with slanting sun, and I got the slanting sun, but I sure didn't get an ornate library. Maybe I needed to have some bookshelves in there or something for it to populate. These also now all come with the ability to mask out any part of it that you don't like and replace it with something that you want. And that's that sort of search and replace. I gotta find out where that goes. Oh, retouch, I guess. Retouch. Say, forming image analysis. I'm just gonna say, pick this and pick this, and do I tell it something? I don't know. I mean, I'm manual selection. Replace. Okay, so I said replace that wall and door with a samurai soldier, and there you are. Yeah, you sort of paint it out and see what you get. I think it's the here I'm seeing I've got replace with warrior or retouch. I don't know what retouch does. Recolor, you know, a lot of crazy stuff going on. So just to keep going, it does text to image, sketch to image. It'll also work backwards and do an image to sketch. If you put in a photograph. Oh, that's right. All these different tools are under products. So sketch rendering, photo to sketch. Here we are. So we've been here in sketch rendering. Now I'm going to go to photo to sketch and drag my drag this Barcelona in here. I forgot about that. Generate 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000, 6 1,000, 7 1,000, 8 1,000, 9 1,000, 10 1,000. So not too shabby. Line drawings from photographs. Not too shabby at all. Let's take a look at one made for architectural and interior design work. This one. Okay, so just looking at these, in this article, the one, the 10 AI tools down near the bottom, towards the bottom of the page, other programs, and basically you feed it, you feed it this and get this out of it, just like right away. Dang. And that is the one I really liked here was this one called Get Floor Plan, AI-powered service that allows users to create detailed 2D and 3D floor plans, 360 virtual tours, upload a floor plan or sketch in under a minute, and the AI will handle the rest. I mean, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I have no idea right now. I have no idea. I mentioned to Molly and Nathan that we're going to be starting to look at these this week. And Nathan just said, bring it on. And Molly was like, gulp. Okay, I guess, so we'll see where we get. Anyway, so I here these are. I want to take a quick look at what we can do in Photoshop. Last spring, one of the seniors' capstone senior project was converting this old hotel in Evansville into a theme park based on Dante's Inferno. And she had to sort of make do with really crapo images. But if she'd just done Seventh Circle of Hell in a cylindrical space, I mean, she could have these amazing images. They wouldn't have been like in her space, but they would have been just so evocative of what she was trying to get. We'll pick up what Photoshop can do in a week or so after the classroom computer gets Adobe upgrades installed.